Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am oh so excited to talk to you boys and girls, and we have a very, very special guest joining me tonight. You guys know him. If you haven't subscribed to him, make sure you click the link in the description down below. I got Tyson from Let's Talk Jets Radio. Tyson, how you doing tonight, brother?
Great to talk to you. Long time no talk, my friend.
I know, seriously. It's been, I think we talked maybe training camp was the last time, so we got a little bit to go over.
We made all those like big predictions with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets going to Super Bowl and breaking all these records, and here we are, just like as expected, right?
So let's jump off right there, and we'll talk about our thoughts on the season so far. I mean, talk about sky-high expectations with Aaron Rodgers, and 4 snaps into the season, Achilles sitting on the turf, looks... flashbacks to Vinny Testaverde, second quarter, that sort of thing, back in, 2000. Brutal. How are you feeling so far on the Jets season?
I'm so glad they won on Sunday, man. I'm so glad you're 3-3, you're in the bye, and you're starting to feel better. Defense is playing at an elite level. Special teams is very good. And the offense is on the brink, it seems like. They're starting to figure it out. They're gelling. They're overcoming injuries. And it's like you figure they can just do a little better in the red zone, man. They're there. This team should make a run at a playoff spot. That should be the expectation now.
Yeah, it's really nice to feel like there is some gas to this, right? Like if you had told me 3-3 heading into the bye week with Aaron Rodgers, I would have been like, okay, you know what? The way the back half of the schedule looks, I'm feeling pretty solid about that record. If you had told me 3-3 at the bye week and there were, 9 interceptions thrown, and only 1 was from Zach Wilson, and the rest were all, takeaways by our defense, and his best game would be against the Chiefs, and one of our wins would be against the Eagles, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd be like, wow, we got a damn franchise quarterback right now. That would be my reaction. I'd be like, you're pulling my leg.
And the injuries of Dwayne Brown, the Elijah Vera Tucker, all the adversity they faced, and all the different, and it's like they've overcome a lot, man, and especially dealing with this team with Zach Wilson with these expectations, because everybody's like, we want to win now, man. Like, okay, Aaron Rodgers is hurt, but we don't care. We want to win now. And once he struggles, they want Kirk Cousins and Tannehill and whatever else. And it's like they kind of stayed the course. They're playing good football. It's not perfect, it's not pretty, but at the end of the day, it's winning, dude. It's all that matters is winning. It's like just get there. And it's like this is the early part of the season, learning a new offense, for example, right? It's not always going to be pretty for everybody, but as this season goes on, it should get better. And if it does, how can you not be excited, man? Like, they have talent. They should add more, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But it's fun, man. Like, as a Jet fan right now, if you're not enjoying this and how they're playing, and they beat the Eagles for the first time in 20-something years, I mean, this is great.
Ever. It was 0-12. So ever. This is huge.
Yeah.
It feels like we're trending in the right direction. At least at the very least for me, I feel like we have the right people in the room. I love what Joe Douglas has done from a talent perspective, and we'll get into some, 2 players in particular in a little bit, Mekhi Becton and Bryce Huff. Little, sneak peek for you guys. Make sure you hang around. But also just, the talent that we've been able to re-sign. You bring back Quinnen Williams. You re-sign Quincy Williams. There's a lot of talent on this team to be excited about. The Jets are really just a quarterback away, and I feel like they're making the right decisions at the very least. Even if you don't agree with all of them, it feels like adults in the room for me.
Yeah, 100%, man. Saleh's leadership is really shining through now. Everybody's talking about it. Rodgers is talking about it. All the teams talking about it. They're not quitting. They get stronger as the game goes on. And the personnel decision is they're not perfect. They made some mistakes, which we'll talk about as well. But you look at the young emerging players. This isn't a bunch of Band-Aids and guys that ended their contract. You know what? Next year we're going to need 10 new starters. These are guys heading into the prime of their career, man. They have legitimate game-breaking talent on both sides of the football, and we haven't had that in forever, if we're being honest. It's people want to analyze well, this year's draft class sucks. Okay, it's a work in progress, but we don't need them to be good because the last year's draft class and the other talent, it's you're actually building through success through the draft over time. So it's awesome, man. I think this is it's going to be a fun season, hopefully the rest of the season, but there's potential. I like Douglas. I like Saleh. I like they have football guys making football decisions, which is always a good thing, man.
So are you telling me our draft class doesn't have to be perfect? In our draft class, players can actually sit and learn and develop the proper way. Jermaine Johnson shouting you out right now, looking like a stud after sitting,
Yep.
maybe having a lower snap percentage yet last year, looking legit this season. Do you think he's the biggest leap forward, or do you think it's maybe Quincy or like someone else across the board?
Bro, Quincy Williams is turning into a star, man. He's taking this game to another level, which just like the Jets linebackers last week, Mosley and Quincy Williams were phenomenal. They're flying around sideline to sideline, big hits. And then Jermaine Johnson is making Carl Lawson expendable. Like Jermaine Johnson's this good now where he's like, sometimes his stats don't show what he's really doing. He's disrupting the game, man. Like endless pressure, relentless attitude, like a relentless motor. And I think all this stuff translates to the rest of the team where it motivates everybody, inspires everybody. So it's great, man. And Bryce Huff too. Like Bryce Huff is a guy that I think like the Jets discounted a couple times, and the fans liked him more than the team did. We're like, dude, why is he playing in the fourth quarter of a preseason game? Why is he on the field more? Like, why is all this stuff? We're begging to see him play. He gets his chances, and he's among the lead leaders in like so many stats, and he's playing like half the snaps, which is crazy.
It makes me feel really good that the last 2 weeks you've seen his snap count kind of increase. We're starting to see him on first and second downs a little more frequently. And that to me, originally when I was looking at Bryce Huff, I'm thinking, okay, he's just going to be the victim of a loaded defensive line room. We're going to lose him at the end of the season. We'll get the comp third round pick. I'll be fine with it. He's balling out so much that I think the Jets have finally decided, hey, let's try him on first and second down, see if he's worth the contract that he's going to wind up commanding, because it would be foolish of us to let this cat walk when he's just so dominant on a per-snap pass rush basis. I mean, he's been absolutely electric to watch.
Yeah, and I give solid credit because in the past, he's so loyal to his veterans, dude. I thought once Lawson was healthy, they'd start forcing Lawson back in the lineup and like, oh, here we go. Jermaine Johnson's going to lose snaps. They're letting them play, man. He's letting, like, you earn your snaps, you play them, and he's doing that. And it's exciting. I can't remember the last time the Jets had a defense this explosive in terms of pass rush. It's better than Rex's defense because Rex was predicated on all blitzing. These are genuine, like, natural pass rushers.
Yeah, this is like your front four is getting after him. And especially with those running style quarterbacks where you kind of need to play a little bit of contain at the same time and drop a lot of players into coverage. I mean, we're pretty lucky that Hurts didn't go off the way that he could have gone off. I think he wound up having 40 yards on the ground, which was like, I think he had over half the amount of rushing yards that the Eagles team had in total. So the Jets defense keeping good quarterbacks in check. I mean, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott. Well, I guess I can't really say Dak Prescott, but I could say Josh Allen, I could say Patrick Mahomes, I could say Jalen Hurts, Zach Wilson. Better record or better QBR than all those guys. So I guess let's hop off there and talk a little bit about Zach Wilson and his performance so far. What do you think of the young quarterback?
I mean, initially, I thought he should have sat out this year, and they should have. I think we talked about this. I would have brought in a Bridgewater, a Minshew, somebody else to be the buffer between Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson. Sit out the year and figure it out. He's thrown in that action, and to be honest, it hasn't been pretty. I think he's getting better, dude. And the thing is, like, we want him to be better. Like, we want him to be like a top quarterback today. It's not going to be today. It's not going to be tomorrow. He's taking slower than we want, but you see better footwork. You see better accuracy. You see better mechanics. You know, he's better completion percentage. It's just not. It's not always flashy. It's not 400 yards a week, but you're seeing growth and development. I think Aaron Rodgers being here makes a huge difference. Him actually being in the building with them on game day, talking him through things, stuff like that. He's doing good things, man. Now it's just, I think he's playing the level of a backup quarterback. That's what he is right now, right? But he's doing enough to win games, and you want to see them be better in like the red zone. Obviously, we all know that. Better on third down. But the team can help him out too with play calling and not dropping passes and penalties and everything else, right? But I mean, what do you think? I mean, it's like from where he was last year. Last year, he was one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I was done with him. Wrote him off, get him out of here. And now he's earning respect. He's earning credibility. He's earning, like, okay, you're starting to figure this out a little bit. The light's going on just a little bit for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to see a little bit of that throughout training camp with the Hard Knocks series and One Jets Drive and some of the palling around that you saw Zach do with not just Aaron Rodgers, but the rest of the quarterback room, some of his other teammates. And you could feel that relationship starting to kind of mend. And I think players realize, like, okay, this kid just needs some time, and we got Aaron Rodgers right now, so we don't have to worry about Zach. And then all of a sudden, he's thrust into this impossible situation where you're playing behind a 4-time MVP quarterback that goes down in the first series of your season. And now you have to try and beat a division rival on Monday Night Football as the world is watching you. And the last thing anyone really has a memory of is that like Jaguars game at the end of last year when everything just went completely bonkers and the locker room was ripping apart and everything. And it feels like right now, I mean, granted, the first 3 weeks were rocky. I think after the Patriot game, I was thinking, oh no, this locker room's about to implode if he doesn't get better. And then back against the wall against Kansas City, it felt like Hackett was like, screw it. Let's just see what this kid can do. And Zach just threw it all over the yard. And you see that. Then you'd go to the Bronco game. They decide to run the ball because obviously 32nd ranked run defense with Brees. So that was a nice little change up. And then you go to the Eagles game and Zach's throwing it again because they realize they're going to have to keep up pace with the Eagles if they wind up scoring and the defense can't hold. So I love how Hackett's calling the offense, and I love how Zach has kind of responded since that Kansas City Chiefs game. I was looking at, so on the season, in the 6 games that he's played, his adjusted completion percentage, which takes into account throwaway passes and dropped passes, so it eliminates that from your like incompletions. Right. He's at a 76.3% adjusted completion percentage. That's good for 16th in the NFL. All right, you know what? 16th in the NFL, I'll take that. That's not too bad. Yeah. Then I went a step further and I looked, all right, his last 3 games, I think they've been looking pretty decent. I feel like Jet fans in general feel like you're feeling a little more confident over the course of the last 3 weeks. How would that look like, or what would that look like over the course of an entire season? So if you extrapolate those 3 games over a 17-game season, Zach has about a 67% completion percentage, which would have been 8th in the NFL in 2022, and he would have just under 3,600 yards. It was like 3,570 or something like that. Passing yards through the air, which would have put him at 12th in the NFL last year. And these are against like top level teams, maybe not so much the Broncos, but the Chiefs, the Eagles, and he's able to do that level of play. I would take top half of the league quarterback play from Zach Wilson. And that's why I'm feeling encouraged, I think. And then you're seeing other things on the field, like catching 12 guys on. Oh, damn, this friggin' thing did it to me again. This goddamn like button. If you guys have not updated your Mac right now, there's this new gesture thing that it's got going on. So I'm going to have to use this other camera.
You're like solid on the sideline with Zerline. Up, down, up, down.
Super frustrated. Yeah, like, oh, are we kicking this? Are we not kicking this? It's a little ad-lib stuff on the fly here. So you see Zach Wilson, 12 men on the field. You see getting the guys to jump early on the free play to Garrett that wound up getting called back. You see the learning from getting hosed on the naked boot going to the left to coming back and then flipping the ball to Ruckert real quick, rolling out to the right. So I can see the little baby steps of growth. Maybe it's not as fast as fans want to see because of the caliber of our defense, the caliber of our special teams, but I like what I'm seeing from Zach right now. I really do.
Don't you mean there's little things that drive you crazy, like before halftime against the Broncos, there's little things that I'm like, all right, these are learning curve things for him. Like, just don't repeat the same mistake again. This is the first 6 weeks of the season, but like week 12, don't make the same mistake. You know what I mean? Like, even like last week against the Eagles, you see little things, you're like, oh man, like don't do that. But it's like he's going to learn. And I think having Rodgers there makes a big difference, man. And like you said, it's baby steps. And right now, baby steps are enough as long as they keep moving. And obviously, just if they start scoring in the red zone, dude, like the Allen Lazard penalty wiped out a play. They're being on a 9-yard line. That's a huge play. That's
they wouldn't get any points.
Right. So I think they're on the brink, man. And I'm not like a huge Zach Wilson guy. Like, I'm just trying to be honest with what I see. Like, I thought it should not be in the spot where he's at, but he's making progress, dude. And I think he's going to keep growing. The offense will grow. I think they should help him out with some, like, maybe add a receiver and stuff, and Hackett can help him, Rodgers can help him. But the one thing I would do, if I'm being completely honest with you, is that starting the Giant game, I'd have Trevor Siemian be the backup quarterback, because these games are more important now, right? Like, now you're looking at, we want to make a run to a playoff spot. If Zach gets banged up, he runs a lot, or whatever it is, if you have to make that switch in game, it's not Tim Boyle for me now. Trevor Siemian's been here 3 weeks now, whatever it is, or by that time, be 3-4 weeks. He should be number 2 now, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Siemian at the very least has to provide that, steady Eddie quarterback play that he's kind of provided throughout his career. And that's basically the stats that I just laid out for Zach over the course of a 17-game season is basically what Trevor Siemian's career average kind of is. So if you can get that with this defense, with the special teams, the Jets will win enough games to hold it over until Rodgers gets back. I really do believe that.
I completely agree, dude. And it's just that they can, like, the defense is going to give up what, 17 points a week, say, just in theory. It's not going to be
Mhm,
always perfect in 12 points, 14, 15. They're going to get more,
mhm,
but I think this team could score 21, 24 points a week because they're going to get better, man. There's going to be more chemistry. They're
mhm.
expand roles for certain people, or they least it should. The least they should. I mean, they just lost. I guess we could talk about Hardman, but they could add more explosive playmakers there, and use guys better. I think at this point.
Yeah, 100%. So you brought up the McCole Hardman stuff, so that's a good transition here. We trade him for him and a 2025 seventh round pick to get a 2025 sixth round pick. I'm torn on this, right? Because I feel like it's frustrating that we gave up some money to get a player that is a weapon. He's really fast, one of the faster guys in the NFL. But then you can't find a way to get him on the field, and it's frustrating. And I think you could have used him early on in the season. But bright side, Xavier Gibson, star of Week 1, starting to come out, starting to look a little bit more, weapony and fast. And they're using him on the jet sweeps and everything. So I'm happy that Gibson is looking good enough that they felt compelled to trade Hardman. And I'm glad they didn't just hold on to Hardman like a boneheaded kind of, I don't know, like what's the word I'm looking for? You're too proud of your pick that you
Yeah,
brought in and you don't want to cut
yeah,
him. You're too proud of it, I guess.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Hardman trade?
I'm kind of the same spot you're in, where it's like, man, like I thought they could find a role for him in this offense. I'm happy that
Mhm,
Gibson took over for him and is taking on more. But the question I have is, if they're not going to bring somebody else in to replace Hardman, I
mhm,
don't like the move because you're getting a what, a 6th round pick in 2 years from now. Don't care about that,
mhm,
right? But in terms of depth, Gibson was already banged up once. If Gibson goes down, God forbid,
mhm,
then where's your speed guy on offense? Like we're like the Jets wide receiver group is kind of thin right now. I know people love Brownlee. You have Irv Charles. You have these guys are all unproven. Where Hardman was able to do well in Kansas City, right? So you're basically
mhm,
just giving him away to like let him go play somewhere else where you're an injury away from actually needing him, right? That's kind of the way I looked at it. And that speed, like how can you not get that speed on the field? Like I don't understand that. I just something that seemed like there has to be more to the story. Something seems weird about it. Kind of like the whole
mhm.
Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore thing. There's something else behind the scenes because there's too much talent to say, you know what, sorry, man, Gibson's coming on now. You can't play. That's crazy.
It does feel weird, right? Like there's something there that you especially with like Corey Davis retiring, like I was looking
Yeah.
like, okay, Hardman's going to get some more snaps. We'll see him on the field. He'll be like the third wide receiver in the slot. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, Cobb's getting like 50% of the friggin' snaps right now. And I'm like pulling my hair out. I saw a tweet from, I think it was Jet Press that had like Cobb being ranked last in like virtually every statistical category. And you got to wonder, is this the week or weeks that we wind up making the move towards more of the younger generation of Jet players? How have you felt about the usage of maybe Cobb and some of the other players that we've seen?
It makes you crazy, man. Like you know what Lazard is, right? He
Mhm,
make the great catch, but he's inconsistent. He's gonna have the big drop here and there. Great leader, Garrett Wilson, elite. But after that, it's kind of all question marks, man. And like I know Cobb's an Aaron Rodgers guy. Well, it's Zach Wilson's playing. Like give him the
mhm,
best talent, the best playmakers on the field, and you have to think: is Hardman better than Cobb? Like I thought he was. Cobb for us was like he's a 6th, 7th guy that's probably never going to play. Good locker room
mhm,
guy. He could be like the mentor for all these young players. And now he's getting significant reps and he's dropping passes. It's like what are we doing here? And like the thing with Hardman is like Zach Wilson's strength is his arm. You could
mhm,
let him just go deep, post route, just take off, man, and see if you can generate something. Like
mhm.
it's a way to open up the field for the quarterback. And I don't know, man. It's weird. Like, and I like Brownlee. I like all these young players, but sometimes you want the known over the unknown, especially
Mhm,
in terms of having Zach saying, you know what, I want a good route runner, and he's going to know exactly where to be. He
mhm.
understands the offense, But maybe I'm just, I don't know. It kind
Maybe
of
that's
frustrates
why
me a
they
little
like
bit.
Cobb. Maybe that's the whole reason. They're like, oh, we feel
Yeah.
comfortable with Cobb in there, and he's going to find a hole in the zone, and you don't have to worry about maybe some hands from Hardman that maybe were questionable at one point. We heard Cobb during Hard Knocks say that about Aaron Rodgers, like, oh, he's not going to throw you the ball. Now, I was expecting a little bit more playing time from Hardman because Zach got to play with a lot of the backups, and you'd
Yep.
think there'd be a little more chemistry with like a Ruckert, a Gibson, and some of these other guys that
Yeah.
we're now starting to see a little bit more of. Ruckert, I think, is the most exciting player on offense that we are starting to see a little bit more of.
Yeah, and that's a guy that he makes a big catch every week. He kind of reminds me like a Shockey, where he catches the ball and he looks for
Mhm,
contact. Like he wants to maul people, dude. He wants to fight for every yard. He wants to drag it. He wants to make. So it's like you have him and Conklin because Conklin's coming on
mhm.
too, man. Conklin
He's
last year
looking
was
good.
he was inconsistent last year with the drops and whatever else, but this year he's like a force. So you have two big targets, which should be used in the red zone, man. Can we like put this into like the environment that we should use big targets in the red zone?
So trade deadline's coming up, and you're saying red zone stuff. What do you think? Is there a player out there that's kind of got your eye, or something that you're kind of looking at, maybe position wise, that you'd like to see the Jets do? You kind of mentioned wide receiver before. I'm assuming that's
Yeah.
sort of your wheelhouse.
That, especially with Hardman gone, I want another weapon for Zach. And there's so many names out there. Like, it's just a matter of how much you want to give up and how much do you want to pay, right? Because I love Cortland Sutton. Is that realistic? Jerry Judy's another name because Denver's, like, what do you think about Cortland Sutton? Because, dude, I think he's a beast.
I like Sutton a lot. I just wonder if I don't think Denver's going to do us any favors. So like, as much as we have their wide receiver coach, I would be surprised, I think, if Peyton sent anyone over to the New York Jets after like all the smack talk that's been going on since, middle of the summer. I would say as far as guys that could possibly be available, and I'm a little I shouldn't say irritated, but I'm a little upset that the Bengals started doing a little bit better because T. Higgins is someone that I was looking at and I was like, ooh, that would be nice. I wouldn't mind trading something for him. Mike Evans is one that I really want in the offseason. I don't think they're going to trade him now because I think they're in first in their division right now.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't see him going anywhere. Darnell Mooney and Hollywood Brown are interesting, but I don't know they necessarily provide the red zone help that I think we need.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, Hollywood Brown, like these are like speed guys. I want like a big body guy. That's where Sutton comes in. There's so many names being thrown around. It's like, all right, but it's like, what's the compensation going to be? And what, like, T. Higgins is great because if you trade for him, then you lock him up. Then you got a guy next to Garrett Wilson for the next 5 years. That's like the perfect guy to get, but just a matter of would he even be available for a team like the Bengals? Would they even consider that? Because they want to make their own run at the Super Bowl, But to be honest with you, while we're talking about receiver, I think a bigger need is going to be a guard because if you like, I think Rich Cimini hinted today that Tippmann's hurt seriously. So
they were saying like it might be a bit for him. It was the last thing I heard. I don't know what the actual injury was. I think I heard thigh was initially what it was.
But at this point, I mean, Schweitzer did his job last week. He started off rough. He was getting pushed on his ass a couple times, but it wasn't pretty. But like, you want to solidify this line, and that's like every team's trying to do the same thing. But are you comfortable with the line depth, even tackle? Like, where if Dwayne Brown comes back, I'm not putting him at left tackle. Like Beckton's a left tackle. Yep. You don't want to play right. Well, guess what? You're now our backup because how do you handle the offensive line right now? You got to make moves, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. Dwayne Brown comes back after the bye week. That's when he's eligible to return. Sorry, dude. Left tackle's taken right now. Mekhi Becton is definitely playing the best offensive line play that we've seen this season. I don't want to move him back to right tackle. I'd rather see Max Mitchell get reps, especially since Zach is in there too. Like, Max Mitchell's going to be here next year. Dwayne Brown, not going to be here next year. I'm hoping Mekhi Becton, we can figure out a way to retain him, whether it's on the franchise tag or some sort of Band-Aid type contract with him. I love what we're getting out of Laken Tomlinson right now. That has been the second coming that we really needed on the offensive line. I think that's probably been the biggest leap up in production. From the center perspective, McGovern's been fine. The right guard spot is the one that definitely gives me a little concern. And I don't know if bringing back or bringing in Lyle Collins, we had talked about him as a potential right tackle. Is he someone that's capable of maybe kicking inside? Is there another guard out there that we're kind of keeping our eye on? I have no idea. You get Carter Warren off the IR. What's he going to look like? It sounds like they kind of want to redshirt him a little bit. Don't want to press him into service. I'm not feeling 100% confident in the offensive line. I think before AVT went down, I was feeling good. I was like, okay, you know what? This is the best 5 guys we could get out. And then losing AVT 2 weeks ago and Tippmann this week, I'm on shaky ground, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, build it up as much as possible, get better depth. I know they had Billy Turner there, but I'm not the biggest Billy Turner fan in the world. So,
yeah,
I mean, this is supposed to be Douglas's forte. And unfortunately, every team's in the same boat. You hear makeshift offensive line from every fan all across the NFL. We're all in the same boat, but it's a need, right? And it's just, I would say wide receiver, offensive line. Other than that, like, I think if anything, people are talking about, will the Jets actually trade some players for pieces next week? Like what is your take on Dalvin Cook? Because for me, it's like, I think they're going to be really loyal to Dalvin Cook. I think they brought him here. They're going to keep him here for that. He's like insurance in case Breece Hall goes down. But at like the same time, I like to find a way to get Izzy in the game because that speed is something we need. Like, how do you, like, is Dalvin Cook, I think, a trade candidate, or what do you think happens there?
He's an interesting one for me because I do agree. I think they do probably go the route of staying loyal to him, and they brought him in. Aaron Rodgers gave back money in his contract because that was one player that he really wanted around. I feel differently about Dalvin Cook than I did at the beginning of the season because I think initially it was like, okay, I want him to be the backup to Breece Hall if Breece Hall goes down. One, Breece Hall's looking good, and two, Dalvin Cook really has not looked good, and I'd rather see more of Izzy and Carter than Cook. And if Cook's not going to be the insurance policy that I wanted from like for Breece, then why is he really here? And for me, I would have no problem trading him. I don't know what it would cost in terms of maybe it's a late round swap of picks like we saw with Hardman. I'd be okay with that. It saves you maybe a little bit of cap space in that capacity. I'd rather play some of the young guys. Some of the other players that I think people have thrown out there, Bryce Hall, I do not want to move. I do not want to move Bryce Hall. I think he is someone that you saw this past week with Sauce out, with Reed out, with Eccles out. He was able to perform in a big moment, both the last 2 weeks. He got the scoop and score on the Broncos, got the interception this past week against the Eagles. That's someone I'd like to keep around a little bit. Outside of that,
The
it's
other
really
one's
just
Carl Lawson, dude. That's the one, Carl Lawson. And I don't want to do that because it's like the same thing with like if somebody goes down, like if Jermaine Johnson or Bryce Huff go down, Carl Lawson's plug and play. He's there, he's established, locker room guy, good leader. Like it's almost like you're pushing, like you're getting rid of him because of what? Because like to me, it's like a strength of the team that I don't want to take away from. And no offense to Will McDonald, but like Carl Lawson's better than him right now. Like, would you like? And what would you get for him? Like, I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, you're not going to get anything for Lawson. His contract's a little bloated right now. I don't think there's any reason to move him as much as like I hope I don't have to see Lawson on the field a whole heck of a lot. Like I want to see his snaps go to McDonald. I want to see them obviously with JFM, Huff, and JJ. But I'm in agreement. You know, he's a plug and play type guy. He's still a good player. I'm worried about the back though. I don't think the back's fully healed, and I think it's probably something that's going to end up. I would think maybe bringing his career to a quicker end than maybe he would otherwise want. I like the defensive line. I love what we're getting out of Quinnen. Even if Quinnen's not getting the sack numbers, I know I've seen that in the comments a few times. Like, hey, where's Quinnen? We've just paid him all his money and you haven't seen the sacks. It's like, all right, well, watch these double teams and look at all the other edge rushers running free. Like that's the impact of Quinnen Williams. And he's still, I think, number 2 in terms of pressures on the quarterback behind Aaron Donald with defensive tackles. So dude's playing lights out. Yeah, I don't want to move any of our younger players that could help us win. Cook is probably the exception for me. I would be fine if he stayed too, but I just don't want to see him get a ton of reps. I know he got less than Michael Carter this week for the first time, so it seems like they're kind of trending in like a maybe less Dalvin Cook sort of capacity.
Could Michael Carter be a trade candidate?
I don't know. I think it depends how the locker room is. I really like Michael Carter, the leader, but if there's maybe some sort of, I would like to have a more expanded role or, and there's nothing to like. I haven't heard anything bad about Michael Carter aside from like the one, blow up on the sideline week 3. I like him. I would love to keep him around, but I think there is when you're kind of playing who's the odd man out. Bam Knight or Carter during training camp, I think a lot of people, if you're being honest, really like the talent of Bam Knight and liked the personality and the leadership of Carter. And you have to kind of weigh that, does the leadership outweigh the roster spot and the, maybe holding another player that you might have a higher ceiling on back. And I don't know. I'd like to see Carter stay here because he is one of the more enjoyable players that we have on this team. But he's had some big drops the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. The one against the Chiefs on 3rd down, it was the 3rd or 4th down, whatever it was. And then he has the drop against, I think it was against the Eagles.
Yeah, it was last week, yep.
I'm definitely not super high on Carter, but I don't know if I want to see him, gone. Where are you on him?
I'm kind of in the boat where it's like he's frustrating me a little bit. Like you want to see him go back to his rookie year form, that explosiveness, that physicality. We kind of saw a little bit this year. But then it's like he's getting stuck in this Dalvin Cook mess, right? So now it's like you have these 3 here, and Breece is elite. But then it's like I'm just biased to Izzy. Like I just want speed on offense. I know that he's got a lot to learn. We saw him in blitz pickup. He's not very good. Pass blocking, not very good. So he's going to be limited in his role. But you can find a role, unlike finding a role for Hardman. But whatever. But I think you can find something for him, right? And it's just I wonder who the odd man is going to be out, or they're going to say, you know what, we like you, kid, but you're going to have a redshirt year. You're going to sit out all year and be inactive every week, which kind of sucks. It's going to be interesting, man. I just wonder about Carter if he does say, you know what, another year I'm not getting enough reps, I'm not getting enough snaps. He may ask for more. I don't know because like it kind of seems like it's that potential's there. Even like with his social media approach in the last year or so.
Yep. Yeah, no, the social media stuff with all the young players now, it always, it irks me because I don't want to see it because I'm always like, I want to see the team do well and put everything you can into it. But I understand it's a business, it's their marketability, it's, outside of football, it's a revenue stream. But man, the removing of a team from your social media profile is the new, like, I'm not picking up the phone. And then you got Aaron Rodgers saying I can only accept FaceTime calls at my California house. It's like, man, this is sort of setting a tone now.
Yeah,
I don't want to see it, but
wild,
I don't know. I wish we could do it without social media. Like, hey, you get a bonus $1 million if you don't do something stupid on social media. Yep. I don't know how you would do that. People would probably.
Or you give them like a 24-hour ban right after a game if you lose. Like after a game, if you lose, 24 hours can't be on social media, so you can't stir up the pot where the New York media.
Cool heads prevail.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Like that would be great. Like, hey guys, this is what it's going to be. After loss, we go dark for a day. After win, have at it. Like
that's what I do.
It's smart because otherwise you're going to start like just rage clicking and being upset.
Yep.
And then you do the doom scroll and you just keep going and going and going and going and going and then you. Yep. It's endless. It's endless.
Yep.
Let's talk about Mekhi Becton and Bryce Huff. Both guys are up at the end of this year. And I think more seriously, the last few weeks with more reps from Bryce Huff, I'm thinking in my mind, I don't want to see this dude leave, but I don't really trust Becton to stay healthy. So I don't want to give Becton the long-term contract necessarily. Bryce Huff, we're loaded at the edge rush position. Do one of these guys get the franchise tag? Do you think we negotiate for a longer-term contract with one of or both of these guys? Do you feel sort of similarly where you're not quite sure what the Jets are going to do with these players?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, Bryce Huff he's in line for an enormous payday, man. Because pass rushers get paid. He's earned the right to get that money, right? So if Joe Douglas, he should have started negotiating 2 weeks ago. Like, listen, man, let's get like similar to John Franklin Myers. When John Franklin Myers had that big deal, get him in here, keep him in house, stuff like that. To be honest, I have a lot more faith in Huff getting done than I do Becton. I think Becton. I'm happy for him. First of all, I'm happy that he's healthy. I'm happy that he's playing. He seems happy. He's enjoying the team. Like, it's just good to see him come back for all the nonsense, dude, on and off the field. He's back from all of it, playing at a high level. But I think he's been unhappy with the way the Jets handled him. Have him at right tackle. Have him at this. Even this year, dude, he was second string most of preseason, playing Billy Turner from and all this stuff. I think there's some negativity in his mind there where he's like, you know what? I'll do my part this year, but I'm playing my best right now because I want that contract from somebody at left tackle, not necessarily the Jets. So I think, he may want to test the market. And I don't know, man. I think he likes it here, but I think he's kind of pissed off by some stuff. And I don't know. I don't want to see him leave. They may have to franchise him to keep him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, if you had asked me before the season, I would have said definitely franchising Mekhi Becton because I just don't trust him to stay healthy at this point. Like, okay, you played a great season, just do it one more time. And then you figure it out from there. But he came off the field. Did you see the video clip of him pointing to his like right leg and like giving the money sign? I'm like, oh man, this dude's like ready to get paid right now. So I get it. We declined your 5th-year option. I would love to see some type of Band-Aid contract. Like, hey, we want to keep you here for 2 years. But there's also the outside possibility that David Bakhtiari from the Packers is going to be fully healthy at the end of this surgery. They're saying this surgery is something that, will get him right. He's got a $40 million cap hit next year for the Packers. I think his ass is definitely getting cut, and he's going to wind up coming to the New York Jets to protect Aaron Rodgers' blind side because he's his best buddy, and he can trust him, and he's one of the best tackles in the league when he's healthy on the field. But just like Mekhi Becton, I can't trust him to stay healthy. So, like, I don't really know what I want either way. Like, I guess if Becton were to just go, then I would pivot to Bakhtiari. But I don't know. I would like to keep Becton here. I feel more confident in Bryce Huff and giving him like that JFM type contract, 3-year contract, whatever it is. I think he's 25 years old, so he probably wants to have a shorter term deal so he can cash in on another big contract before he hits 30. I don't know. What did you think about the Mekhi Becton? I don't know. Like, do we do the transition? We never see the transition tag. I feel like the transition tag is more of a slap in the face, but I would feel more comfortable doing that to Becton and saying, hey, go out and find a deal that someone wants to sign you to, and then come back to us, and then we'll match it. And I think that's more comfortable for me as a Jet fan than the franchise tag, which would pay him a little bit more guaranteed. But then I think teams aren't going to necessarily try to sign him to a contract because they don't want us to say no and then have to give up 2 firsts or 2 seconds or whatever the compensation winds up being when they wind up signing a deal. I almost want to bait someone into a contract and have him sign it. It's almost like the same way the Ravens kind of attempted to do it maybe with Lamar Jackson this past offseason.
Yeah, and there's just like we love the comeback story, right? Mekhi Becton's the ultimate comeback story. Missed 2 years playing, he's physical, he's pointing at guys, doing all this stuff. But then like the football mind comes in like, all right, first time healthy in 2 years, right? He finally has his weight under control. He looks in great shape. Will that stay? Like, there's so many questions you wonder about once he gets the contract. Will all this stay the same? Like, and what's the risk? So I love that your approach where it's like give a Band-Aid contract, like a 2-year kind of deal. But you figure he's going to want 5 years. He wants the big, especially if you play all season at left tackle, he wants left tackle money. And, and Bakhtiari is interesting, man. Like I know the same thing, man. They're best friends everywhere. And it's like, if you sign him, you better have a very, very, very good, expensive left tackle behind him because you need an insurance policy, whether that's Carter Warren or whoever you want it to be. You definitely need that because that's risky as hell.
When you're looking ahead towards the draft, and I'm not talking specific players, I just want to talk about maybe position-wise, is there a route you kind of want to see the Jets go? We've heard people, sort of lean quarterback, then Zach started playing well, then it kind of maybe trailed off a little bit there. I've heard offensive lineman a lot. You can't kind of go wrong there. I've heard wide receiver. Is there someone or a position group that you're kind of keeping an eye on?
Well, it's got to be offensive line because 3 guys could be gone next year. You could have Becton gone, Brown gone, Connor McGovern could be gone. You can miss 3 starters. It's like, and the quarterback thing is tough, man, because you got to see what Zach does the rest of the year, and you figure Aaron Rodgers coming back next year and stuff. To me, it's offensive line, and you got to look at what areas can you improve. Like you can probably look at safety because Jordan White's probably gonna be gone, Amos will be gone, so you only have Tony Adams back there, unless you believe in Ashton Davis, who's been surprisingly decent. He's been decent.
I was going to say, like, I wouldn't mind bringing Davis back more so for special teams.
Yep.
But as like maybe a surprise upside, third safety or something like that. He seems to make plays every time he's on the field.
Yep. Yeah, he was in like my Zach Wilson category. Like I want him out of here as fast as possible. And he's slowly but surely figuring out he's making plays on defense too, which is wild. And I think the other position could be receiver, where you want a Garrett Wilson tag team partner. I don't discount Lazard, but I think you need somebody just better if possible. If you can get that guy as well.
Yeah, I thought Corey Davis was going to be our number 2. That was like the biggest part of this. It's funny because when we heard Davis was stepping away from the game, it wasn't a retire, it's stepping away from the game, and they'd leave the door open if something happened. I would love to see the Jets say like, "Hey, we'll give you an extra $2 million. Come on back and let's roll." Because I think him coming back now. He was a safety blanket for Zach. Although at the same time, I don't know if I want Zach to go back to Corey Davis and not keep feeding the ball to Garrett Wilson, because I love this whole 50-50 ball. Let's get the ball to Garrett Wilson, get the ball to Breece Hall. I don't know. Are you thinking rookie receiver, or are you thinking maybe a more established one? I'm kind of in the boat of going like a Mike Evans that could be here for like 3 years, and that contract could be an elevated amount. Let's call it $20 million a year. And then Garrett Wilson's contract's up, and then you have the cap space to kind of allocate to him. That was my biggest fear going into like week 4, I think, was like, you got to keep Breece and Garrett happy. I don't want these dudes demanding trades. I'm going to lose my mind. Just keep the locker room together. That's all I want to see. Is there would you prefer draft, or would you rather go maybe with the veteran guy?
Well, I mean, the veteran guy would be great, especially with Aaron Rodgers here. It's like, then they're just going to click. Like, the whole Devontae Adams rumors with the Raiders, all that stuff. But that's just like, what you're going to get out of these guys. They're going to be, they're going to be happy. They're going to get their catches. They're going to get the yards, and the offense can flourish. And the pressure will be off Garrett Wilson, where somebody else is going to keep the defense accountable, right? Because right now you can kind of lean to his side and like key on him, and Lazard doesn't really scare you. Cobb definitely doesn't. And you hope Gibbsley emerges into like the deep threat, but it could help, man, for sure. And then like the draft's a crapshoot. You don't know what the hell you're getting, which we've learned over how many years with receivers. So it's not Mike Evans works, dude.
Dude, you know what I like? I like this whole 3 tight end set stuff.
Yes.
I don't mind the 3 tight ends. You're getting Conklin and Ruckert out on the field, and I think they're 2 of your better receiving options outside of Garrett and Lazard. And then you have Uzama in there as an extra blocker. So if the offensive line needs help, it only makes more sense to have more big bodies on the offensive line. And in a weird way, it's like hides what you're going to do because you could be running the ball with that many offensive linemen, or you could run a play action, and all of a sudden you got Garrett and Lazard potentially out there. I like the 3 tight end sets a lot.
Yeah, especially when they're diverse, they're well rounded. Like a lot of times in the Jets, they would have like the tight end that you knew was a blocking tight end, like you knew they couldn't catch. And the defense knows it too. Like, yeah, this guy's gonna maybe catch it, probably won't. We're not gonna worry about him. With all these guys, you got to worry about him. So I think it's awesome, man. And that's like, what are your thoughts on Hackett, man? His play calling, because you figure he had to flip the script when Zach Wilson became his quarterback. They're figuring out week by week. They had the bye week, but what are your thoughts overall about how he manages the game and how he attacks defenses?
So I've liked it so far. The red zone stuff, I put a lot of that on Zach and Hackett combined. It's somewhere in between. We've had some weird disciplinary issues, and I don't know if that's so much Hackett, but it's like the false starts, the holding penalties, where we're in weird downs and distances, and that's really frustrating to see. But I like what we've seen from Hackett. And the one thing that I brought up, the last time I had John, well, we saw Aaron Rodgers without Nathaniel Hackett, and it didn't look great. We saw Russell Wilson, away from Seattle, and Seattle looked pretty good. So I think Russell Wilson's cooked. That's not so much Nathaniel Hackett. And the way the games have been called, specifically the last 3 weeks, with Hardman getting a little bit of time. Obviously, he's gone. Gibson getting some more time. Ruckert getting some more time, and Cook getting less time, I feel like is trending in the correct direction. And it's not like that situation of Frank Gore running up the middle nonstop, even though we got Cobb out there still. So hopefully that sort of goes away after the bye week. But overall, I like what we've gotten from Hackett so far. I think that's a better offense for what Zach does well.
Yeah, I think he's not as stubborn as Mike LaFleur. I think he makes adjustments, and you're right. I think he's learning his personnel. Like you think what you have in training camp, you think you see it in the preseason, but like, all right, now I'm actually seeing in game action how they react in certain situations and adjusting accordingly. And that's the positive. Like you got to maximize your opportunities and your potential, right? And he's starting to do that. And like in the perfect world, Rucker plays more, Gibson plays more, and you start, feed Brees more. Brees looks healthier, like he's healthy, Give him the ball out of the backfield. Give him more carries. You don't have to force Dalvin Cook. Feed Brees more. I think he's going to do that. And again, I think Rodgers being there helps a lot, man. Where he watches the game, he watches it and be like, listen, man, this ain't going to work. I'm telling you it's not going to work. Do this for Zach because I know what Zach does. And that's an enormous mentor, but enormous help for Hackett as well.
Yeah, I feel like Rodgers can say the things that coaches shouldn't say, but need to do. And I feel like if Rodgers is saying, hey, you got to do this, the rest of the team will fall in line, even if it's a more veteran type player. Like there may be a conversation with Rodgers at some point, like, we kind of got to, take a little bit of a step back from Cobb. But overall, I love what we're getting out of Rodgers. I love the presence that he has on the sideline, both from a mentorship of young players and a mentorship of coaching, because he's had multiple coaches before. He's been in the league forever, and he's seen everything that defenses can throw at him over the course of these years. So I think it's making our defense better, and it's the old cliche, iron sharpens iron, but it feels, right. And I feel like Rodgers being back on the sideline for Kansas City only helped calm down the issues that we saw in the locker room. And now him throwing the ball and walking around with minimal limp, it's getting players thinking. It's like, hey, we're not giving up, because it would have been very easy to roll over. And you saw it a little bit in the Dallas game where it was like, wow, we're kind of deflated, short week, just lost our quarterback. It could have been very easy for these players to just hang it up and say, hey, we'll try again next season. And Rodgers is really keeping it together, even if he doesn't come back. Just the thought that he might and that hope that gives that team has been absolutely massive.
Yeah, I mean, after the Patriot game was my breaking point. I'm like, here we go again. This team is a mess. We've seen this before. We're going to go down that same path of just lousy Jet football. And you could tell he cares, man. Like he's invested. Like this is my team. Like he still calls it his team. Like these are my teammates, my team, my sideline, my offense. I want these guys to be better, and we're gonna. They all want to win. Like you can see, he still wants a team to win, probably because he wants to come back and have a chance to play the playoffs. But it's just he's been remarkable, man. Like everything you kind of heard about him in Green Bay has been the complete opposite here. Like literally the opposite with everything. How he handles the media, how he handles the fans, everything he's done has been the opposite. Especially being that ultimate teammate where look at the impact he had on Mekhi Becton, man. Like having an impact like Mekhi, you're part of our team, dude. We want to do this. Or the young players like Gibson, encouraging Brownlee. Like all these things have paid huge dividends for us. And like you look forward to him coming back, hopefully playing, but the impact he made is just, it's been more than I think we all expected without actually playing.
Yeah, and to an even like weirder extent, like I know some people don't love some of the off the field things or maybe some of the attention grabbing things that Rodgers does. But I kind of think back to the Rex era, and Rex used to put a target on his own back, but that would create its own kind of issues because he's the head coach and, whatever. I feel like Rodgers kind of takes some of the media distraction and allows it to be put on him. And there's no issues with him because he can handle it. He's on McAfee. He's got the credentials to be able to like back up what he's saying. And then it sort of shields the rest of the team from, some of the blowback, I think.
Yeah, he's a wizard with that kind of stuff, man. But let's be honest, Salah's getting some swag now, man. He's getting he's starting to feel himself. Like that great defense of his is giving him some he's talking some.
Dude, that press conference, I wanted him so badly. Did you see the tweet? I think it was JPA Football or something like that put out. Did Salah say when he went up to Sean Payton at the end, did he say stay healthy or did he say stay humble? And I was like, oh, I really want it to be stay humble. I don't think it was. But then at the press conference at the end of the Eagles game, it's like, we made some elite quarterbacks look like trash or whatever. And it's like, wow, okay. He's got a little bit of a swag now. This is what I want because the players feel that. He's talking to his team through the media. I like it. I'm a big Salah guy. I think he's the reason we have a lot of players here because they want to play for him.
Yeah, no, and especially now because they're winning. Like, it's easy to have bravado, but if you keep losing, like they lost out the end of last year, we're like, oh man, this is bad. But now the defense is getting the recognition that it always wanted. Like, we questioned it, like, listen, are you guys really elite? We talked about it in August. Like, maybe top 10, top 12, not really sure. Like, we're not. And now it's like they're getting the recognition they deserve, and he's giving the swagger too, like almost the way Rex did with his defense. It's very, very similar. He's not as brash as Rex, but now he's like, you know what? You see him, he's doing the Quincy Williams thing with Quincy. Like, he's into it, and they thrive on that stuff, man. Like, they're getting that energy from him as well, which is great. Now, if you could translate that to the offense, it'd be nice, but he's got a little, like, if they beat the Giants, dude, we're going to see some solid swagger, I think.
Dude, it's going to be nice. The first guy that went up to Gibson after he returned that punt for a touchdown was Salah running down the field, meeting him in the end zone. And like that energy, that gave me like Sean Green, Rex Ryan running down the like sideline vibes. And that's what I want from my coach. I want to see some life, especially after having Gase and Bowles and some of the guys that we've had prior where it was more vanilla press conferences or lack of emotion. And that's kind of, Salah was getting a little bit of the lack of emotion irritation maybe from the fans, like, hey, we want to see you get mad, even though he's a little more animated than some of our other coaches. But I love everything that we're getting from him. We're going to go into a few, let's go into a few comment questions, and then I'll get you out of here. I don't know how much time you got, but you good for like another 15, 20 minutes?
Let's do it.
All right. Randy Hamilton pops in. What's up, Randy? He says, Hardman came for money, then went back. Been his plan the whole time because Kansas City didn't know his market. What do you think of that?
I think he wanted to put Aaron Rodgers, to be honest with you. The Jets gave him a one-year deal. I think Kansas City's like, you know what, we're not going to pay you that. The Jets said, you know what, here's an opportunity to put Aaron Rodgers. He wanted to just take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a situation where it's like, okay, he's going to ball out this year with Rodgers, and then I can cash in on the big contract that I want. Now at least he gets over to Kansas City with 2/3 of the season left. They're riding hot right now. They need a receiver. He could be that missing piece for them. Then maybe he earns a contract, whether it's with him or with another team next season. I don't think it was entirely correct, Randy, but you're not entirely wrong at the same time.
Yep,
I wouldn't say the plan, but the plan changed once Rodgers went down.
Yep. Yeah,
let's see. Billy SBC says, I don't think Brown cares if you put him at right tackle. If he's got a shot at a ring in his final year, I don't think he cares how you use him. If he's okay going to right tackle, I would be okay, like, thinking about it. But I like Mitchell right now, and I think he's faster. Brown looks slow. I don't really want Brown as the starter. Where you fall on this?
And he's never played there before. That's the other thing. How long to take him to get acclimated there? Is he healthy? Then he's got to learn it. I don't know, man. And I understand what you're saying. And he's got a lot of influence in that locker room. They all respect him. He's like a valued leader. But I mean, if you guess you could try it. It's just it's like it sucks. You're trying during live action. You're trying during a game, which is like,
yeah,
you know what I mean. It's not so easy to do. That's a tough one.
Sam L comes in and says, liking Hackett. One criticism I have though is that he hasn't settled in with situational play calling. What is our go-to on 3rd and 7, etc. That's what we need to figure out moving forward. 3rd and 7 is a tough down because it kind of eliminates the running aspect from it. So there's less variation that the defense has to prepare for. I think more importantly, you get positive yardage on first and second down, and you're sitting at 3rd and 4. If you get to 3rd and 4, now all of a sudden the running game comes into play, the screen game comes into play, a deep shot could come into play, or just, a relatively easy pass. I love seeing the motion that Miami does, and you start seeing it a little bit with the Jets these last few weeks with Gibson and Hardman running across, and it doesn't even mean they're getting the ball, but you watch them pull a safety or pull a linebacker out of the way, and it creates a block without needing to lay any hands on someone.
1,000% agree. And I think it's a work in progress, too. I think Hackett's trying to figure out his personnel, figuring out what Zach can throw, what he's comfortable with. Like, it's just – I think they're trying to figure it out. But I agree, man. Like, 3rd and 7, you're thinking pass. It's what – the one thing I hate, I'll be honest, Matt, it drives me crazy. If it's 3rd and 7 and you throw a 5-yard pass, it drives me out of the –
I'm sure you loved that 4th down play with Conklin catching the 4-yard out or the 4-yard button hook for, not the 5 yards needed.
Oh, the rage.
Oh, dude. The only thing that would make me rage harder than that was watching like Geno Smith run out of the pocket and then run out of bounds 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage rather than throwing the ball away. And you'd be like, what the hell? It's not even grounding at this point. Just throw it away. Don't take the loss. That was the only thing I think that burns me up more than that.
Yep. 100%.
What else we got going on, chat? What are you guys talking about in there? Vinny Valentine says, I was watching clips of the 85 Bears the past few weeks. These guys are playing like them. Am I wrong? It's a different era of football. So 85 Bears not going against the prolific passing offenses like a Mahomes or like, the Bengals or, Bills, those kinds of teams. So a little different in terms of timeline. Like for me, that's why I hold Revis in such high regard, is because he played cornerback in one of the hardest times to play cornerback. And, you're still able to kind of like, you weren't able to hit receivers the same way. Like, remember when we used to watch the Colts and the Patriots go at it in the playoffs, and the Colts would just get their receivers manhandled by the Patriots? They changed the rules because the Colts wide receivers couldn't get open. It's so different now that I think I just want to see the best version of the 2023 Jets more than I need them to be like the 85 Bears.
But they're playing at a very, very high level. They're playing fast. They're playing physical. They're relentless. And to play the way they play without Sauce and DJ Reed was completely remarkable. That was because you saw Craig James making plays. You're like, who the hell is this guy? There was guys in the field. I'm like, who the hell? I didn't know who even was. Like
Hayes covering AJ Brown. Who the hell is this guy's bagging groceries last week? Like, you gotta be kidding.
I'm numbers. I'm going through the roster on my phone. I'm like, who's this guy?
I've never heard of him. I have my buddies text me like, I don't know who that person is. I'm like, neither do I. So it's okay. We're literally without 4 of our 6 cornerbacks right now.
Yep.
It feels good that they've been able. I guess realistically, that's what you want, though. You want to have a system that guys understand so well, or that is so, I don't want to say easy, but so plug and play that you don't. It's like the cumulative sum of all the parts is the better thing than any one individual player. And maybe that keeps contracts down in some form or fashion, or it creates a situation kind of like, I feel like the Ravens always have players that play really well, and if they can't re-sign them on a contract, they can flip them for picks. Or, I feel like the linebackers for the longest time, there was always someone leaving. It was Bart Scott left, C.J. Mosley winds up leaving, Adelius Thomas leaves. Like, you could just keep plugging in all these different names, and they're able to keep clicking and clicking and clicking, and that's where I hope the Jets' defense and offense can both get to.
Well, actually, it's funny because Jason Kelsey actually talked about that when he does that show, and he actually gave Sal a lot of credit for his scheme, saying his defensive scheme doesn't put his players in bad positions. Like, they're always in good position to make plays. It's never awkward. They're never out of scope. And that's an indictment on them, man. It's like you always wondered like what Ulbrich does and what their role is, but they had the defense. Like, their system is in place now. It's been a couple years. They know where the roles and responsibilities are. And now you bring in Craig James and Hayes and friggin' Bryce Hall, and they're like, boop. They're all making plays. So it's wild. I've never seen nothing like it. I thought last week, I'm like, they got no shot. They're going to get blown out. A.J. Brown, 200 yards. Devontae Smith, 100 yards, like 41-10, and we're going to be drunk by the third quarter, right?
Dude, I feeling the same way. There's no way. There's no way we're winning this game. I was like, I just want to see something positive heading into the bye.
Yep,
the fact that it was 14-3 or whatever it was, or 14-9 at halftime, I'm like, all right, this gets interesting. Was not planning on this. I was built up for sadness, and my expectations are pleasantly surprised by all of it. Westchester Unchained comes in and says, let's say Rodgers is back for the playoffs. Do you start a rusty Rodgers with the offense now tailored to Wilson, or do you start Zach, who got us there? So I have an interesting maybe thought process on this, but I want to hear from you first before I say anything on my side.
I gotta hear yours first. I gotta hear this.
All right. So my gut feeling right now is Rodgers is going to be back earlier than the playoffs. So it might be, the tail end of December, somewhere around Christmas.
Yep.
I would say by the Browns week. So it's a Thursday night football game. He's not going to start that week. I think there's a situation where you have a win and in with the Patriots the final week of the season, and having Rodgers win us the game against the Patriots would be kind of a cool thing to see. But at the same time, if he's not 100% ready, I could see them rolling with Zach and having Rodgers be the, backup quarterback to some degree, and just sort of wait until something bad happens with Zach. Maybe Zach throws a bad interception. Maybe he just doesn't have it this game. And then they roll into Rodgers. And he can kind of play the hero role to some extent. If he's 100% fine and he feels like he's clicking, I feel like you got to try and get him out there because, barring Zach really having an escalation type season the rest of the way out, it's Rodgers' team. It really is. This is what this team's trying to fight for, and they're trying to get to a Super Bowl. And I don't think Zach can get you through the playoff gauntlet the same way he kind of got you through the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I kind of had the same feeling where you get this feeling that he's going to be back by the last week of the season. I just had that feeling. Like he's so adamant about getting back. He's doing everything in his power to get there. And if he comes back in and he's ready, I don't see Salah saying, yeah, man, we're not playing you. I just don't see that happening. It's just not going to happen, right? So if you had a situation that you mentioned, I'd go Rodgers in the playoffs, dude. And then you have Zach as a backup. He goes in, he just doesn't have it. He's struggling and this and that. All right, listen, it's not going to work. But, how do you have him there in a playoff game with this team? Yeah, we're going to go with Zach. I can't see that ever happening, man.
Yeah, and to the fans that are like, I don't want to see Rodgers get injured and compromise the 2024 season, the alternative not alternative, but the upside in my opinion is the dude just got back on the field in 4 months. If he ruptures the Achilles right now, he's got 8 months. He's got plenty of time to get back for training camp. I'm not concerned anymore at that point. I would love to see Rodgers come back because when he went down week 1, I just looked down at my hands and I just said, there's no way we're snake bitten like this. We can't have nice things. And I'm looking, I was like, that Namath curse is real. The Namath curse is real. We just, for whatever reason, we just cannot do anything and have nice things. We literally get the quarterback you need and then gone in a second.
I felt the same way, dude. I just sat there. I went and got 2 more beers. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to get this. Because, you're in a stadium. Because I was in the stadium for the Testaverde game, too. So this is the second time I went through this. And it's just you've got to be kidding me. And it's all right. Now this is a same old Jets kind of injury where our luck is terrible. But I'm maybe this is the way it turns around where he comes back, this epic, historic comeback that's never done before, comes back for the playoffs, we win a magical ride and does it. Maybe it's just the way it's meant to be. But I love his mindset. I love the way he's approaching this. He's determined. I think his teammates see it. And to be honest, when I saw him walking on the field last week, I couldn't believe it. I'm that's unprecedented, man, to what he's doing right now.
The first thing I saw I think it was him getting out of the golf cart. And as soon as he took the step out, I was like, okay, where's the limp? Let's take a look at it. So I'm analyzing it I know shit about being a doctor. I'm okay, he looks fine. This is perfect. And I'm all about it. It feels good. Do you think that if he comes back and plays in a game and then gets the Jets to the playoffs or plays in a playoff game, in your opinion, do you think he should get comeback player of the year?
That's a really good question, man.
Right? That's an interesting one.
He's never done it. It's never been done before, what he's doing right now. That's a really good question. He could be. Why not? He's one of the biggest stars in the sport doing next to the impossible. Simon, and he's winning a playoff game too?
Dude, if he comes back and the Jets have a playoff berth, the schedule, the record goes to 0-0 across the board. This is a whole new season. It's a different Jet team than everything the Jets put on tape the 18 games prior. Would be absolutely wild. Absolutely wild to see. Beth Page comes in and says, great show, guys. Sign Huff ASAP. Price is going up. You think Huff
Sure
gets the
is.
JFM contract? Is that where you're kind of at? I'm concerned he's going to like look for Trey Hendrickson type money, which is
Ooh.
$21 million a year. And that's got me like, oh no, this is going to get pricey real fast.
I'm hoping it's the JFM contract. I mean, he's still he's he's a growing player, man. He's starting to prove himself more and more. Like, all right, I'm well rounded. I could be a 3-down player if I have to be. He's starting to earn that more and more. That's why they should have got him done earlier, not till he got to this point. But I mean, he's going to get paid, man. Pass rushers are at a premium right now.
They really are. All right, we have gone for just over an hour here, so I'll end it with this. Tyson, any words or things that you're doing on your channel that you'd like to let the fans know about? Thank you so much for coming on. I love talking to you.
Well, first of all, I missed you, man. You blow me off now for 2 months, and the season started and you vanished. You left me. You left me all the dark here. I was on a darkness retreat for 2 months just now. Nah, man, just let's talk Jets. We're always doing live streams and content, and we're not as fancy and as official as you are. You're all like all these fancy designs and logos and stuff. And first of all, if anybody doesn't know, he's actually my technical director. You're my technical support guy. You're able to help my lighting.
Tyson's texting me on the side.
I'm like, how the hell's this camera work? I can't figure it out. But nah, man, we have a good time, man, and we appreciate all the support. We just fans, drink beer, curse, yell, and have fun with it. And are you going to Vegas?
I'm not going to Vegas. I just had baby 2. My wife would kill me. I am going to Jets Chargers though, so if you'll be at Jets Chargers Monday night, I'll definitely see you there.
I may do that.
Definitely do that. We'll talk. 100%.
But first of all, thank you for having me on. Though I always enjoyed the time flies you, man. We could talk for hours, no problem. So I definitely appreciate it.
Fun fact: the last time Tyson and I did a stream together, I think it was either 30 minutes or an hour, and we talked for like an extra hour and a half, 2 hours after the stream ended. So this is absolutely true. It's absolutely genuine. Tyson, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, if you have not subscribed to Tyson and Let's Talk Jets Radio, link is going to be in the description down below. Highly recommend it. Tyson's good people. We have him on the show consistently. So Tyson, thank you so much for coming on. This is Jets Talk signing off. Jets.